saying now, but you've still got to push the button there.
I know. I've got to push the button.
Right. Good evening, everybody. Or good day, or good wherever you are. It's all good, isn't it? Welcome aboard for this first look at Hauptstrecke München-Augsburg in the Train Sim World 2. We found out that it was pretty much ready to go. Matt earlier today just said, we could probably show this off tonight. So that we decided to do that instead of Workshop Wednesday. Evening, Matt.
Yes. Evening, Sam. Evening, everybody. How is everyone?
Yeah. No, it's good. Matt's a bit out there at the moment because this route, as you will see shortly, is trying to hurt him a lot. There's a big thing. We've got nothing pre-recorded for you today. This is all live.
Not only is it live, this is in a dev build. This is a dev build. We haven't actually started cutting shipping builds yet, so this is a warts and all build. So what that means is you'll see things on the screen which are not part of the shipping build. So bits of debug text. There's not much of it, but little bits of text in the corner of the screen, and you might see a slightly more hitching than normal because dev builds are doing more work than a shipping build. Again, it's not that different to a normal shipping build. So just keep that in mind. This is a dev build, not a shipping build.
We've had someone clock 427 timetable services already, and that is accurate, but there should be an asterisk next to that for reasons that we'll go into a little later in the stream. So 427, that's the maximum it can be, right?
That is the most it can be with all the layers activated.
Okay.
Yes.
Layers. We're gonna talk layers quite extensively a little later on. Right, where are we going to first?
Well, I thought, why don't we just have a run and take a look at the route? Let me put a bit of cloud on the route, and we will run this ICE 170. No, that's not the one I want to run. I should have written it down, shouldn't I? Let's run ICE 612 to Dortmund. You found
a lovely one a minute ago, and it was super.
Oh, we'll do that after this.
That we wanted,
because there was that was in the dark. You can't see anything in the dark. We'll do the dark bit later on because that looks gorgeous.
The dark bit, it's worth seeing. So this is a pretty aggressive bit of route creation going on here. Why is it that? I mean, it's not the longest bit of track you're ever going to come across. So what is it that makes this particularly complex?
So if I pop up map up. There's a couple of signals in the area.
Yeah. When you say a couple, how many do you mean?
We think the unfortunate soul who set all of these red dots up told me it was in the order of 3,000. Most of which are between there and there. It's about 3,000 signals. There's obviously more signals all the way up here, but once you get onto the main line, it's kind of the signals are reasonably well spaced apart. And when you're on the LZB line, the high-speed lines that the ICE runs on, you're not seeing that many signals at all. But it's in the Munich area, mucho signals. Let me just get
mucho. That's a new word on me there. Okay, all right, fine.
Many.
It's mucho, I think you find, if you're going to go for any kind of sensible pronunciation, but I'll allow it. It's all good. So we're driving an ICE 3 rather than ICE 3M this evening, is that right?
Yes, we are driving the ICE 3 rather than this is technically the BR403 as opposed to the BR406 that came in the Cologne route. And exterior difference is it's fundamentally very, very similar to a 406. You'll notice that we've got the variant, the current, all the 403s now have the green stripe on them at the front instead of the red one, which is related to the fact that they use reusable, recollected electricity. So it's there. They're just highlighting the fact that they're super green, which is all good.
So this isn't you having been monkeying around in the old livery design there. This is the
real bit, the real deal.
The genuine design.
Yep. And then the other difference is that the IC3M, the BR406, is the multi-format one, so it does multiple different types of power, whereas the ICE3 does not. So you'll find this has fewer pantographs on the top compared to the ICE3M. Interior-wise, we chose to model the refurbished version of the IC3M. So this has got the modern MFD screen for the driver to use.
Right.
As opposed to the older style gauges and lights that the 406 we implemented had. So it's a different experience in the cab for that stuff.
So there's plenty of room in the world for both the ICEs that we've got now, because they're slightly different. Is the sound design the same across them both?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're I mean, the propulsion and so forth. I think they're identical trains, so they'll sound the same.
Okay.
Right.
Does that mean that ICE 406 is technically an older model?
If you take into account, how much of the model is older if the cab was refurbished and the passenger interior is refurbished, it's actually an older train that's been updated, versus the 406, which is a newer train that hasn't been updated. Although, again, these days they have been updated as well, so it's just consider it as variety.
Okay. All right. How long is this route, and what trains are included?
This route is, I think, about 60 kilometres from Munich to Augsburg, which is about 38 miles, something like that.
But it's about as far as it takes to get to the moon if you were to put all the track ends away.
Oh yeah, I mean, we see the track as we come out of the Munich quay. You'll just see stacks and stacks of tracks. One of my favourite things about this route when you're coming down this is this feeling of being buffered in by buildings on either side of actually quite a wide expanse of track. So there's quite a lot going on, and if you look at the map, just where you are, you can just get an idea for how much in the island you really are. There's just so much sea of track there.
Right.
You got the S-Bahn line over on the right hand side there. So in this route, you get the BR403 that we're looking at right now, and you also get the BR423, which is the S-Bahn staple. It runs all the S-Bahn services. And service mode brings S4 and S3. S4 runs... Hang on. So S4 runs essentially along this line here up to Pasing. Once it gets to Pasing, S4 shoots off, I think, down this way.
Right.
And then S3 is from Hackebrook, which is the first station here on the S-Bahn, all the way to the end of the line to Mammendorf. Which is the natural end of the S3 line on the western side. Some S3 trains run up as far as Maysac, only go as far as Maysac, apologies for my pronunciation, and some go the extra 2 or 3 stations on to Mammendorf, and again, the whole timetable is copied from the real timetable. So this service I'm running right now, ICE 612, if you go and have a look at the September 10th 2020 timetable, on Deutsche Bahn's website, you will find ICE 612 departing Munich at 6:45.
Okay, nice. We've got requests, obviously, for the horn. Let's get that out of the way. Well, I'm not hearing it, but I think you've got the game sound muted. Because I'm not getting any game sound at all. But then again, I'm getting this second hand.
Is everyone here hearing audio from the game?
No, not muted. There you go. They heard it.
Okay.
All right. They're getting game sound. I'm not, so that's fine. All right. Well, in that case, wow, my gosh, that horn sound was spectacular. Can you interchange the 403 and the 406 if you were on Köln Aachen without having to use the scenario plan?
No, at the moment. So the way this service mode has been implemented, it's just the 403 that's in there. Because if we make it, so the 406 doesn't run around here in reality, and if we were to enable it to run with the 406, then you'd see always a mixture of 406s and 403s on this route. Even if you were just driving a 403, at the moment in the game, we can't make it to where you're allowed more choices than the computer is, effectively. So that's on our wish list for the service mode going forward, but it's not a possibility at the moment.
Okay. I saw a couple of people saying that the green stripe on the livery isn't exactly the same as the green stripe in reality. There should be a plug on it somewhere, and it doesn't quite meet up with the red stripe in the way that it does. If you'd like to post links to screenshots and I don't know, PM me on the forum or just put a post up, grab a screenshot from this, grab a screenshot from reality, and show me what you mean, and I'll pass that along. Thank you. There you go. Good. Yeah, good. All right, so how far have we got until passing?
1.9 kilometres. We've just actually gone past a 6 warning, so I'm slowing down now so that I don't get PCB'd. There we go. And Yeah, we'll be in Pasing soon. Got a regional express, I think, or is that regional? I don't know. That's probably an S-Bahn actually.
You're being done by some cheeky chappie in a little red number.
I know, it's ridiculous.
It's sickening.
Yeah, it's an S-Bahn train. You can see the destination boards on the S-Bahn trains. You can just about make out. They've actually a little bit of colour in them. These are the 423 is a modern refurb of the. So that's a Geltendorf S4 train. So this is the modern refurb of the S3 train.
We'll have a look at one of those a little bit closer up later on. But there you go. Yeah, good. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right.
LZB, someone's asking how many kilometres LZB. I can't remember exactly how many kilometres LZB is, but it basically starts a bit after Pasing, essentially, westbound, and then runs almost all the way to Augsburg. It's just outside Augsburg, you get chucked off LZB. Some ICE services, the one I'm running right now, stop at Pasing. Some services don't turn left here; they keep on the straight line, which keeps them at 130 kilometres an hour, and they just go flying by Munich, Pasing, and can therefore get to Augsburg a bit quicker.
Right, smash it. We've got lots of people asking about what the preserved collection might add to this, and hold on, Mike's chipped in. He's gone. The version of the livery with the plug on is actually the previous iteration of the green stripe model, which is what I'm calling it. That's not necessarily what it's actually called. So no, this version doesn't. He's obviously been looking it up. Thank you, Mike. Always useful. So this is why we keep him around. He drops things in. We'll talk more about passenger information screens in a moment. We want to get through this little run first in a general sense, and then we'll give you a closer look at some of the extra widgets and gizmos and jiggery pokery that we've got running around in this particular route. Good. Right. Let's get into layers. All right. This is as good a time as any. So, what are layers?
So, when we make a timetable, you define train services that do things that train services do. And what we want sometimes is to be able to add additional services which may or may not appear, depending on what DLCs you own. Now, the only way we can do that is by putting them onto a separate layer, and then the entire layer is switched on or off based on the presence of a DLC. So, for example, if you've got Karl-Nacken and you have and you added MSB when that came to Preserved Collection, that activated another layer, which then brought in a slew of extra services that you were able to play. So it's essentially each layer is a timetable of sorts, and then you layer multiple timetables on top to create the final timetable.
So they fit over the top of each other, and they don't interchange, right? So they're all. If I've got a whole bunch of different DLC, I can layer multiple things over the top of it.
Yes.
Right. So the 427 timetable services, what routes are layered over the top of the default?
So this is using the Hauptstrecke München-Augsburg to give you the BR425. For some of the regional express and regional Bahn services. It's using Royal Osten to give you container freight trains. In fact, we've got an inbound freight train here in our way. And it's using Main Spessart is probably the most used of them, to give you Dosto services on the another half of the regional express regional Bahn services. And it's using it also for, indeed, this service, which is the sort of the mixed freight services. So there's two types of freight, two types of regional express and regional Bahn services coming in through those different. There's three different sets of add-ons. So, green.
Okay, so what we're looking at two layers over the top of this, or
three layers? The way this timetable's been implemented, there are actually about 7 or 8 layers, but some of the layers, multiple layers, use one DLC. So there's actually the base set and 3 more sets. Essentially, is the way it works.
So, what's the problem with layers?
So the problem with layers is it increases the memory requirement, and so the more trains that you have moving around, the more trains have got to be in memory, and this causes a problem, particularly on machines that have got only a little bit of memory. notably some of the game consoles.
When you say some of the game consoles,
the two that we support, Xbox and PlayStation 4.
Right.
So what happens there is that basically those consoles run out of memory when they've got the layers activated. That's the sort of situation we're in at the moment. Is we're trying to work out what we can do about that.
Okay. So to kind of summarise the situation as it stands, because obviously this route is still in testing at the moment. We're running on PC right now, and this is a dev build. So expect the unexpected, but Matt assures me it's going to be quite reliable.
Fine.
It's running extra layers over the top of the base layer, and those layers are inherited from other routes and locos and bits of DLC that you might own. Now, what is currently happening when we test on console, particularly on Xbox, is that it doesn't like that at all. That if you do own the routes to make up the maximum number of layers on this route doesn't work. So we're looking at a scaling solution at the moment whereby it will only layer over the routes that you want. We'll have a lot more information on this, but you can layer over because it's not finished. That's the thing. Is we haven't solved it yet. While on PC and potentially just PC. Sorry,
just PC.
You told me off for that earlier. Just on PC, you'll be able to have everything switched on. So how that would change later on with the next generation consoles, we don't know yet. But obviously, given that they've got quite a bit more horsepower to play with, there may be a change in there. But let's leave that as a... Can we answer that one later, please? Thank you. So we'll have a lot more news on that one in the run-up to release. But that's just to understand layers and the complexity that comes from having many different possible configurations of service that lie over the top. So if you run with no layers at all, how many services do you actually get then? So how many timetable services?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It's
100
and something. It's 100 and something. I remember right.
Low end or high end?
Middle.
So around, let's say 150
ish.
Ish. Okay, and
there's quite a lot of S-Bahn services. There's actually 12 trains running a very busy schedule on the S-Bahn.
Right.
And then ICE services. I think there's about 67, 70 ICE services, because there's also depot runs with the ICE as well, because they'll disappear out of Munich into various depots in the Munich area and back into Munich to then head out again later on. So there's depot runs as well as mainline runs as well. So it's quite a bit of variety there.
Okay, all right, good. All you PC Master Race people, stand down. Ease back there. We're not going to... The goal that we have is that we don't want to hold anybody back when it's capable of more, but at the same time, we want to make sure that everybody can run everything where possible. So where layers are involved, we want to give console players the flexibility to choose which layers are important to them, and they could probably chop and change that on a case-by-case basis. Yep.
Yes.
Had some kind of expression there that says, no, we can't do that. You explained it to me earlier. I understand.
No, it's fine. You're absolutely spot on.
So you'd be able to get... We're hoping to get to the stage where you can have all the services, just not all at the same time.
Yeah, so you'd be able to switch the certain trains on or off, essentially, and it would default to just automatically making sure that the game can't crash by not doing things if it realises it's not going to have enough memory to do it. But then you'll be able to influence it and say, you know what, I'd rather less. I don't want to see those trains so that I can see more of these trains, and so you'll be able to influence it. So this is all stuff that's heavily in dev at the moment. That is kind of our medium-term solution for that. The other thing the team are working really hard on is actually to optimise the way the route is built itself, to actually make these things smaller so that you don't have to turn things off. So that's the second arm that's being done as well. So
that's general optimization, though, isn't it? I mean, this is an ongoing pursuit that we always have, which is make the whole thing run smoother, cleaner, smaller.
Yeah, I mean, give you an example. One of the things that the team are exploring at the moment, which is a little bit on the slightly more extreme end of the things that they've been optimizing, is track. they've actually been looking at how we can completely redesign the 3D structure of how because all the track is procedurally generated by the game engine. We just tell it the sort of the line to follow for the track, and it auto-generates it. So the algorithm used to generate the track has been able to create track significantly more efficiently, and so we're currently testing that to see whether or not that's actually, yes, it uses less memory, but is it still doing what it should do? Does it look as good as it, because we don't want to reduce the quality, we just want to make it more efficient. So far so good, but it's relatively early days on that. That makes actually quite a significant difference to the memory, particularly you imagine Munich, all of that track, it's going to make a huge difference to that. So so this is the second arm we're looking at is to just actually make these things smaller.
Okay, no, that's all good. Does this route add anything to Colnarken in terms while we're talking layers? Vaguely?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No,
okay.
The next route that adds something to Colnarken will be Runwell-Ruston, which will give you S-Bahn traffic, and it will give you container freight traffic.
How many stations does the do the S-Bahn service? Come on, Mega Sim, you're better than this. How many stations do the S-Bahn services get on this route?
I don't know the count. It's Hackerbrook to Mammendorf, which is quite a lot of stations actually.
No, are we omitting any from reality, or is it?
So it's not the complete S3 line, because in reality it goes east of Hackerbrook, out into the underground. It's about 6 stations underground, then to Munich East, and then so on and so forth. None of that's in there. So our eastmost station is Hackerbrook, and then it's every station to Mammendorf, which is the end of the line.
A couple of people have asked how much is it going to cost. It's going to cost the same as they always cost, apart from when they don't. There you go. Yeah, normal price. Nothing abnormal about the price. The price will be the normal price. And for those of you going, when's it coming out? We'll tell you on another stream. Or, well, we won't tell you on another stream. We'll confirm it on another stream after it's been mentioned in about 400 different social media outlets beforehand, with all kinds of whizzy graphics and, bits of zingy flip video and GIFs.
So we just passed Malching on the left, which is the penultimate station. The next station on the left is Mammendorf, which is the end. So as I say, some stage trains don't make it this far. They stop one station before Malching at Mesak, and some of them will then carry on all the way through to the station we're coming up to now, which is Mammendorf. That's then the S-Bahn, the end of the S-Bahn, and beyond that is Regional Express and Regional Bahn traffic, and obviously the ICE traffic.
Nicole's saying it's still too expensive, and you kind of go, well, that's okay, Nicole. Because we are Dovetail Games, the champions of the sale, and therefore, if you're prepared to wait beyond the launch of the thing, just hang around for a sale and get it a bit cheaper. You don't have to have it on day one. You don't have to. No. You can opt out of that and just and not sign up for it and go, no, day one, I'm not interested. I'll get it later when it's in the sale, because everything ends up in the sale sooner or later. So if that's more than your wallet can handle, wait for it to be in the sale. Can we get an exterior view? You just had one. Oh, I think they want a bit of kernel cam, effectively, but you're no good at that, so we won't bother. What have we got? No. Did they say the release date? No, we didn't say the release date. We're not going to say the release day today. You will have to wait for another time to find out the release date. It is not far off, but it is not ready yet. As you can see, it's running quite merrily, and we haven't got much more to do on that. But other than making it work on an Xbox, minor details. This is a nice view. I like it. That's good. So do we actually get up to a higher speed on this one than we do on the Colne run? It's not that much longer at full high speed, is it?
No, it's slower actually. Colne run goes up to 250 kilometres an hour. This one, and we're at our maximum speed now. This is only right. 230 km/h route. Well,
you say that, but you could turn LZB off and just
you can run it. Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't got PZB and LZB on the fun terminators, then you can drive as fast as you want.
No, they're important safety systems that are important to both reality and immersion. It's a simulator, not a game.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Matt. Right, okay, good. Can we get a passenger internal view, please? You've got time. You've got 20 kilometres left. We'll be there in over 5 minutes.
Yeah, the train will come to a stop in a minute. Hang on. Let me turn CFR off.
Well, that's not exactly what I had in mind. I thought, it might be worth your while actually continuing to drive the thing. Just use one of the whizzy cameras. You know how to do it with number 8.
How does this help?
Not especially, I'll be honest.
It doesn't have a 5 camera like TR. You're thinking of Train Simulator, which has a 5 camera.
Maybe it's the number 3 with a careful piece of camera clipper in.
That's right, we can get off and walk now. Train's under LZB, so...
This is not safe. I don't advocate this kind of behaviour at all, despite the fact it's the sort of thing I do all the time. Very nice. Oh, lovely. Oh, yes, please. There don't appear to be an awful lot of passengers on board.
Not this train, no.
Why not?
I don't know.
Okay. You might want to look into that. Or maybe there's no one in first class because they can't afford it. Because it does cost a fortune to ride on the ICE. I know, I've done it. I mean, obviously not as expensive as getting a rail replacement bus service on a Sunday in the UK, but for Germany, it's quite expensive. Is this the redesigned interior?
Yeah, I believe it is. Yeah.
Okay.
That was the other part of getting the modern refurb was to. We wanted to make sure that this was a different ICE to the the BR406.
Yeah.
And part of that was the new cab, and also the new passenger interior.
We've got some people here saying turn on the train lights. It is a bit dingy back there.
Oh, we're going round corner, that's why. What have we got? 15 kilometres. We'll be at Hauptstrecke shortly. Yeah, interior lights. Now you're going to ask me where they are, aren't you? Probably turn the main lights on.
Aren't they on a display screen?
Oh yeah, of course they are.
It's 5.5 on the other one.
Yeah, it's in the same place. Okay.
There you go. Lights are on. Good. Left screen 5.5. See, everyone knows that. Yeah, and it's amazing because everybody learns that by watching you on a stream. We explain that to nobody at any time, at any point, and the only way they've learned it is by watching you on a stream and then sharing the knowledge. This rather highlights the weakness in not delivering a manual. Could we get a look at the destination screen? Maybe when we stop. We've got 10 kilometres to go. We'll stop and go and have a bit of a meander and have a look at the outside. Why is there no ICE between Bochum and Duisburg? In reality or in the game? Or both? Well, we know there isn't one in the game. Is there not one in reality?
There is in reality. There isn't in the game. The ICE didn't exist in the game when we built the Hauptstrecke Rhein-Ruhr timetable.
Right.
Whether that is changed in the future is probably an Adam discussion.
Is something that may or may not be added in the future.
Exactly. No, it's not on the roadmap, so...
No. We say that too much. And therefore, if anybody's going to get barbecued for saying that, it's going to be me. But no, it's not something we're working on at the moment. Left screen 5.5 is the answer to the universe. Yes. Es ist nicht on the roadmap. Genau. Good. Is there going to be a manual for this one?
That I don't know. That'll be a publishing
question. Steve question, isn't it? Isn't that a Steve question?
It's a Steve and a Mike question.
Steve and a Mike question. Mike, any idea? Yeah, I know. I'll put you on the spot. Right, well, we'll let Mike chew on that one for a moment. Because obviously, if there is a manual for this one, it could work for quite a bit of the other one as well. We could get 2 birds with 1 stone. Or come close to it. Right. Good. Yeah. Smashing. What's the red G mean?
That means we're in the braking curve. So you see the train is now slowing itself down. The LZB is telling us that we are 1.3 kilometres away from a speed reduction, which is 150 kilometres an hour. So the train is, the G tells us we're in the speed curve, hence you can see that the train is braking itself when we are slowing down. The 2 little bugs here tell us what our AFB target speed is and what our LZB target speed is. So this actually is just before the curve coming up to Hauptstrecke, which is on the left. So the line takes a sharp turn to the left, so it drops you right down. And actually from this point on, we're not too far from Augsburg. So what happens shortly after here is you'll actually get the end come up and then we'll be under my control with PZB to bring us in for a lovely, gentle landing. Stop.
Does this ICE update? Does it update the Colnarchen route? No, it doesn't. The Colnarchen route continues to run as it runs now, but you'll now have an ICE 3, which is what this one is, and an ICE 3M, which is the one we run out of Coln. So yeah. Does the train stop itself at the station? No, not quite.
Stops for red lights, but it doesn't stop at stations. You are still driving the train.
Does the right screen work? Does it have any function built into it?
No, this is where the Ebola and brake controls and things that go. So that screen doesn't do anything yet. But it doesn't do anything in Munich, Augsburg.
It obviously does something on the real thing.
In the real thing, it does something. Yeah. And we have an aspiration that in future locos, we want to bring these things more to life, but we're not there. Will
there be another route to Berlin? At some point, maybe, possibly. We've got no plans to do one at the moment, but Berlin is quite an important place in Germany. I should imagine it would be mentioned as a potential at some point, but it really comes down to the diversity of experience that we can get. We want to make sure that there's there's some novel experiences for people within Train Sim World, so we try and mix it up a little bit. But there's nothing Berlin oriented at the moment. For those of you unaware, and I realise most of you, since you're watching the stream, are blatantly aware. You can find out exactly what we're working on as far as both new routes, fixes, updates, all of that kind of stuff. What we're working on right now is shown on the roadmap, which you can find by visiting trainsimworld.com. Right. What trains will be able to be driven on this route? Yeah, good luck.
Most of them. So the BR403 and the 423, obviously. The 185.2 and the 185.5, the 155 and the 182 will sub in on freight services. The 146.2 will run with the 766 cab car. I think the one that's whatever comes with the main S-Bahn. I think I've got them all.
Okay, quite a few. Is the long and the short answer, but it comes with the 423,
423 and the 403.
423 and the 403. Those are the new ones that are being added as part of this route. Since there's destination displays on stations and trains, does this mean in the future this feature will be on all routes and locos?
That's the aspiration. We're always trying to build on what we've built before. So this the PIS that you can see over here, we'll go into that in a little bit more in a minute. But the PIS you can see here is working and does more than it did previously because it needed to, and I can explain why that is in a minute. So we've extended the PIS system for this route, and in fact I was in a meeting today where we were looking at the next level of what we can do, actually more about using the information we're building for the PIS on the platforms to actually make it to where what goes on the trains is dynamic and automatic. So what you want to be able to do, and you can't currently, is take something like a BR425 from Hauptstrecke Rheinrohr, run it on this route and have it show this route's destinations, because it's coded with the destinations from Hauptstrecke Rheinrohr. What we actually want it to do is to get its destinations from the route and dynamically show them. So that's this is future stuff, obviously.
Separating the data from the loco, effectively.
Yeah.
So that whatever train you're running picks up the data from wherever it is at that time.
Yeah. And even to take it one step further, we don't want that to be even necessarily obvious trains. Like if I bring a 377 onto this route, I want it to show this route.
I could take an international service. I could grab a US service that happened to have display boards on it, and it would inherit the information when running in Germany.
Exactly. That's the goal.
Goal.
We were talking about how we would design that today. So that's
that's fun.
We're always looking sort of the next iteration. I just wanted to show this as well. This is Augsburg at the time we started building the route. I don't know if it still is. I'm assuming it is. They're actually in the process of a load of construction work to build a new underpass under the station, so we thought we'd capture that.
This is German construction you're talking about. They finished it by now. They've finished it, knocked it down again, and built a better one. You want something building? Get the Germans involved.
I saw someone asking if there are triple 423s. No, there aren't any of the Langzug, is it? They call them. It's just twins. It's just 423s as 8-car units.
Have we got further to go here, or are we?
No, we have just arrived at Augsburg.
Right, let's get out and go for a walk. Let's go and have a look at a PIS on foot.
Hang on.
The passenger information screen, for those of you who are not wholly certain what you just stopped the train. You just finished the. Oh, I see. You're continuing. Okay, all right. I'll allow it. Good. Yeah. All right. Good. So we're at Augsburg now.
We're at Augsburg.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Bicycles.
So this is the new the PIS system that's been built for this route. So there's a number of things that this one does that we didn't do previously. One of them is the numbering of so this says ICA 22 and ICE 690. So the numbers of the service numbers are included. The other thing that's different is when we did the PIS on the Bakerloo line, the trains never leave the Bakerloo line. So all of the information we needed was specified because you needed it to make the trains do what they needed to do. This train's going to, or the next train through here in 20 minutes is going to Hamburg-Altona. That's not on this route. And therefore it wouldn't know about what Hamburg-Altona is. So what we've done is we've added the ability now for trains to know what happens after they leave the route. And then that is how the PIS can then learn that information. So Berlin-Gießen-Brunnen is not on this route. And in fact, for an ICE service, the only time it'll show anything that's on this route is when it's going to Munich, because they rarely. I think there's one train a day stops at Augsburg as a final. So it's So those are the two major things that we added in this. There's a bit of other stuff that was in to make it all work, housekeeping stuff. But those are the two major things. Was getting these displays in for the name. So on an S-Bahn platforms, they'll say like S3 and where it's going and so forth. So you can see more information about that.
Okay, so and presumably, given that we're trying to migrate towards a data-driven system, that's something that could hypothetically plug into a passenger announcement system as well.
Oh yeah, we could do potentially in the future. We can do platform announcements with it, and we can also do on-train announcements potentially with it.
The only difficulty there, of course, is that we don't have those yet. So in any form at all. So we'd have to come out with a first pass at how that might function, what that might work, how that might work. But it means that at least part of that mission we've sort of resolved already.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's we're on the way now. The next piece of the puzzle is making the trains fully dynamic, and once the trains are fully dynamic, then we've got one data source, and then we can start having fun with that data source and doing all sorts of other things with it, like the audio.
If you look at the bikes closely, they say Train Sim World 2020 on them. Do they? No. They appear to say Train Sim World 2. Old assets. They may well be. They may well be old bicycles, but you know what else? Putting a new skin on an old bicycle takes no time at all. So we still win, and you're wrong. So there you go. Also, the bicycle has not been reinvented in between the release of the two games, so it's perfectly acceptable. Walk around Munich, please. We're going to do a special a bit of rail fanning at München later on. Where are we going now?
I just thought I'd have a wander.
Just go and have a look at a bit more scenery.
Yeah.
All right. No, that's good. No, you're allowed to be pleased with it. You know, that's approaching its release.
So if we just have a look at the map, in terms of usable track, actually this yard here to the left of Augsburg, most of it's not actually usable by the trains coming in from this end. It's there because it's got to be there, but actually it's only actually accessed from the west up here, so it's just beyond the end of the route. So this yard here fundamentally isn't accessible except for 2 or 3 tracks which the freight services use. If I remember rightly, in this general area here, but these ones are not.
So if I want to mess around with the scenario planner, how many of those are actually usable then? I mean, you've got a whole bunch of sidings going on, so presumably not all of them are available in scenario planner.
No. I mean, in that instance, it'll be the ones that we've used in the freight services, which are just paths that run from those sidings in Augsburg, and they drop to, I think, in this yard here down into Munich. And then vice versa. So there'll be paths going each way that you can run freight trains passing through on there. This is so this yard here is Munich Passing yard. You can't go past here. This isn't. This will possibly get hidden in the final version. You can't actually. You can see it, but it's not really used by anything that we've got in the route. So you can't go near. You can use this stuff, and in fact, service mode. The way that the S3 trains work is that they lay on extra services during rush hour, and then when they're no longer needed, they do a service just to Passing, and then come back up into this yard here, and then later on in the afternoon they'll come out of here to Passing, and then head off and do a service and start bulking up the train numbers again. So what you'll find, and those services are in there, so you can do the extra services, you can run the trains in and out of this yard to Munich and so forth. So all that stuff is supported.
Scroll it out to full, because we've just talked about a couple of bits that are less interactive. Just highlight them so we can see a little bit more of the map. So we're showing that actually it's not many of the sidings that are not wholly functional.
No, I mean, like I said, there's these sidings over on the left-hand side here, which there's no actually way to access them from our tracks.
Right.
So they're there. So it's not that you can't get. There's literally, if you look at how these all pinch point out here, they're actually going down this way, rather than you can't access them from up there. Sorry.
You've got your estate agent on the phone. You've sold your house.
Yeah, something like that. That'd be unfortunate. Yeah. So that's Augsburg Yard. Pretty much everything is accessible on the way down here. You've got this bit here. This bit here. This bit is not. And then everything all the way down here, with the exception of where the lines go off, are two other ways. This is the line to Nuremberg. This is the line going down to the likes of Garmisch-Partenkirchens. You've got the other S-Bahns, the Geltendorf S-Bahn going down that way. So these other lines here, you can't go down there. The AI trains will come in and out of there. But everything along the Munich to Passing corridor is accessible and actually used in service mode in a lot of cases. So this is all used, this is all used. So and this is all used, I think, as well. So there's actually quite a lot of use in all this area here. So this big bulk of track is very well used.
Right, I'm doing a couple of questions that have come in while you've been filling us in on some map detail there. Does the 403 get its own stats page?
Should do, because it's a different class.
Right, okay, yep, fine, good. And the other one is, can anything be done about the shadow level of detail on the train so it extends a little bit further than 50 metres? I think the answer to that one, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, is that is not something that can necessarily be resolved on a route by route basis. That's something that would need to be done in the core of the game.
Yeah, that's something that, I mean, it is. And the last time that we looked at the round of improvements, where for example, skies were one of the things that were improved. Shadows is one of the things that we want to do. Shadows, unfortunately, are expensive to calculate, and adding, when you extend the shadow distance, you have an exponential detriment to the frame rate. So if you every little bit you extend the shadow has a bigger impact than the previous extension of the shadow did. So it's but no, it is, particularly if you're like a sunset or a sunrise, you can see that shadow in front of you, and we're well aware of that, and it's something I definitely want to try and improve.
Okay. There was something else. Is this timetable set before COVID or after? When you say after, we're still in it. It's not gone anywhere. It's still kicking around, a bit of pain.
I literally used the September the 10th, 2020 timetable for this timetable.
So if there is a reduced timetable operating in Germany at the moment, then that's the one it will be using.
When I did Kolnachen, we dated it in mid-January to early February. I can't remember, something like January, so it was before COVID, but after Christmas essentially, so that it was the full. We knew it was the full thing. But actually, what I found looking at the timetables is Germany's seems to be back up to a full service these days. And so I used September 10th, and there's a lot of services. I think, like I said, ICE services, you're looking at around 70 services, and the S-Bahn trains are very, very busy. So, September the 10th, 2020, is the timetable to go and compare notes with.
Does the I'm bouncing around random questions because that's what we're getting. Does the 423 run with LZB as well?
Yes. So one of the unique characteristics of this route is that it has two different types of LZB. So LZB traditionally is used to allow trains to run faster than 160 kilometers an hour. It also allows trains to run very close together, and that's why it's used on the S-Bahn lines. Because I'll go back to the map on this corridor here. You have got something like 4 or 5 S-Bahn lines in reality, which are all sharing track and then going off in different directions. And they're running very, very close together. And using LZB, they're able to safely maintain those. I mean, they're stopping the actual points. If you look, and we go really close, you can see this is where these red marks are. They're implemented as signals, but they're actually, you can see that one of the reasons there's so many signals is they're actually these LZB stop boards. Right. So you see them, and so particularly around stations, you'll be coming into a station as another train is leaving sometimes. So because they run them that close together to keep the service running and running smoothly. But so yes, they have a slight variant of the LZB system, which actually is the one that makes the signals go dark as well. Okay.
All right. Look, I got a couple more coming in. Why don't you load up our next viewing segment? Mm-hmm. So we had a slightly come on then question, which was, is it likely at some point we'll see dynamic weather like in that there Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is, I mean, the plucky little startup Microsoft there coming up with some really quite spectacular weather. I mean, it's remarkable how they've been able to do that on such a shoestring budget. Dynamic weather or dynamic real-time weather, it's certainly possible, but it's not something on our radar at the moment. We know that having variable weather would make playing experience quite a lot more fun, and therefore it's something that is always under consideration. But there you go. So no, not at the moment, but it's not something that we'd rule out. Yeah, I'm being facetious. Enter the Dragon. Being facetious. See, plucky indie startup Microsoft. See, the joke is in the fact that they are anything but a plucky, and they're a megalithic, multi-billion, if not double multi-billion-dollar company that can afford to just go, you know what? I'll go wake up this morning and buy Minecraft. What? 10 quid? No. I'll buy the whole company. I'll buy all of it. I'll have the lot. Thanks, and then I'll just use that as a tax write-off. Cheers, thank you. Yeah, good. Anyway, moving on.
You set him off on one.
Will the ICE 3 be able to use the LZB of the S-Bahn for scenario planning? And will the 403 use the LZB of Kolnachen?
Ooh. You know what? Yeah. I've not tested it. I don't see why it wouldn't work.
It should, shouldn't it?
It should work. It's not something. It's a situation I've specifically tested. I can get someone to have a look at it, but
now we're looking at this because you really like it.
It's just the team that worked on this went through so much pain on signalling. I mean, there's been lots of pain and pleasure throughout developing the whole thing. It's been a real work of passion for everybody on this one. But the signalling team, placing and configuring 3,000 signals, some of which have got ridiculous number of routes. It's very, very complex routing in this area, and but it all immediately. It was actually one of the main guy that worked on the signalling for this that said, it all pays off when you stand at the end of the platform and you see that sea of red signals staring back at you.
Yeah,
you realise that looks good. That looks complicated. It feels exactly the way it's supposed to, And it's a really nice thing. The environment team have captured the area really nicely with the big control tower, and you can see the S-Bahn line sitting over here. There's an S-Bahn train just arrived in the distance, all lit up in the lighting going on over there. So it's the sort of the night run is quite pleasant, and particularly with just all these red lights. It's like some scene from a horror movie with all the lights appearing in front of you. Especially as they're red. Drivers don't like red lights.
Well, what are we going to answer later there, Bean Boozler? I didn't see your previous question. If you've got one, I'll answer that. If it was the release date, actually, I haven't answered release date for about half an hour. So if you're asking when is this coming out, we are not saying when this is coming out today. You should stay tuned to your usual dovetail-based train simulation news outlets to find out exactly when it's coming out. I'm being pinged repeatedly on Discord as well. Look, I've got enough chat to focus on as it is. I'll read your Discord messages afterwards. So yeah, no release date for you today, but the price will be the standard DLC price that we use. Are we showcasing Isle of Wight tomorrow? Yes. Is Isle of Wight coming out at midnight? It comes out at the time that it usually comes out on your platform in your country. So whatever it usually does, it will usually do it again, usually again this time. Right, let's go for a wander around Munich, because there's a whole lot of station going on here.
Yeah, it's
not
a big station.
A whole lot of passengers, though.
No, it does seem to be a bit bereft of passengers. So
that's probably why it's running quite smoothly. You've disabled all the passengers. You've told them just not to bother. If they can't stay on the ground the entire time like they're supposed to, run standing on top of lampposts and floating around like some kind of mystic pixie, then don't bother turning up at all.
Passengers, okay.
Chargé. Is the Talent 2 on the timetable somewhere?
No. So in reality, the Talent 2 runs from Munich to Garmisch-Partenkirchen and from Brightly, which means it runs essentially on this route from Munich to Pasing. So that has not been implemented as a layer.
Hold on, I see passengers. All right, okay.
Yeah, they're walking around. But 6 a.m. in the morning, so to be fair, there's not an awful lot of train, and the passengers tend to veer towards platforms that have got trains on them.
Clock's broken.
That's not a clock, that's a due time.
The clock that is a clock.
Oh, that clock. Yeah, that should be working.
It's broken.
Bug that.
There you go. That's my QA of the day done. Obviously, you are not looking at final here. No. That clock's broken as well. There you go, that's 2.
It's the same asset, they'll all be broken. You don't get multiple points for reporting the same bug, Sam.
Okay. No, see, look, now that I've pointed that out, if you don't fix it, there'll be hell to pay when it comes out. Largely from me, obviously. Can we drive the 423? Not today. We're going to do another one of these preview streams next week, and we're going to do the 423 in that one. As you can see, we're coming up on our hour. We tend to do an hour when we stream. Matt likes to do a little bit more because he can't get enough of it. We're supposed to do an hour, Matthew. You just make me look bad.
That's the other goal.
But we will do a full run on a 423 next week, so you'll be able to check it out. Is München Hauptbahnhof Tief?
No.
T-I-E-F?
No, it ends at Hackerbrück. So Tief is the first underground station, which is on the map. You can see effectively Tief would be here. But that's not player. So your player services start and end here at Hackerbrück. Go on,
sorry, the questions are coming thick and fast because they realise we're not going to stick around for much longer. Did you check the sounds on Rapid Transit on PS4 because you said you would? Write it on a post-it note and get it done. That's a no.
Spice.
All right. Toilet Sim World 2. Still no sign of toilets yet. We haven't upped the dev priority on that. Obviously, it's very high on my agenda, but it's not happening yet. There you go. Are there police sirens in the background?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I can't hear game sounds, so I've got no idea. Yeah, there we are. Are there any services for the 155182? Yes, there are if you have the appropriate DLC.
Yeah, they'll sub in on the freight services, which come with either the Rhine-Royal-Austin for container trains or the MSB for mixed freight.
In fact, for anybody who has joined late, I don't usually do this, but for anybody who has joined late and already has some German routes locos in their preserved collection, it's well worth going back and watching from around 10 minutes in, because we talk about layers and how they interact, or what layers are, and how I'm going to sneeze, and how they work with. I'm not going to sneeze. I am going to sneeze. Oh, it's one of those. Hold on. Good. Go watch for about 10 minutes in if you came in late and you own other German DLC. It's important. There you go. There you are. And you'll find it interesting as well. Good. Right. There. Can you finish the answer regarding the Talent 2? I might have cut you off.
No, so there is no. The Talent 2 is not added into a layer on this route. Given it only adds a little bit, but there would add another chunk of that memory requirement. I wanted to prioritise things that add a much more significant experience to it, and particularly that allow you to do regional express and regional Bahn services running west of Mammendorf, so that you get to stop at all the stations.
Thank you. Right. Why isn't the 182 appearing on Scenario Planner? It's on the roadmap. So it's not in there at the moment, because this is one of the extended services we're talking about adding, particularly the 182. So that's what that means. It's not very clear on the roadmap what that means, but that's what that means. Doesn't work. It doesn't work yet. That's why it's not on the Scenario Planner. Can we drive the 423 up and down all day like Bakerloo?
No, because you'd have to get out, because the real 423 services run into the underground, and they have more.
Right.
They carry on going to, in this instance, Holzkirchen. This was train's going to. No. So you drive out to Mammendorf, go into the turnback siding, come back out into Mammendorf, then drive back here, and then you get out and then pick up the next train going to Mammendorf from this place. So you can't do one train. This is not an enclosed route like Bakerloo is.
Does the BR423 on the S3 and S4 destination boards only? Question mark?
Well, sorry, what's the question mark?
I'm not entirely sure. If not, do they have destination boards on the 423 S3 and S4 services?
Yes.
Right.
In fact, the destination boards on the 423 allow it to do a range of other ones as well. So the service mode only has S3 and S4. I believe when you actually get in and you turn into the cab, I think there's actually like a wider range like S7 and S1 and so forth in there. But it definitely has S3 and S4. And as I showed, as it flew past earlier on, you've got the multicolour destination boards on that train. It's the refurb version of the 423. You can use the screens as normal to set that.
Okay, did we use the GTO sound of the BR 423 or the IGBT sound? Britain's Got Talent. Did we do the person who did the impersonation of it on Britain's Got Talent, or did we use the Grand Theft Auto?
I don't know. I would have to go and defer that question.
We'd have to check that with the audio team.
Yes.
So there you go. That's that. How frequent are the S-Bahn services?
I think, if I remember rightly, so the S-Bahn services as in reality for the S3 and the S4 services. I think S3 works out to be every 10 minutes, I want to say, and S4 is something like every 20 minutes. And then, see, in reality, on this line, it'd be really busy with trains chock-a-block, because you'd have about another 5 S-Bahn services layering into this. The next train is in about 6 minutes, heading eastbound to Grafing. It's about, I think the S3 in reality is about every 10 minutes, and this is a faithful copy of the S3 timetable and the S4 timetable. Okay,
good. There's been a couple other one that just keeps coming up. Is there a donkey in there somewhere?
I don't know. I mean they've never let me down yet.
All right, okay. Donkey, if you can find it. There you are. And talking about next gen consoles, we'll probably do a dedicated, or at least half an hour dedicated to talking about next gen and what we're doing with it. Hopefully when we've got something to show off. So we're not making a dedicated next gen build. of the game. So we're not making TSW2 next generation. That's not something we're currently working on. It'll happen at some point, but when, I couldn't tell you. But obviously with backward compatibility, we will be playable on next generation. So we'll talk about that because it comes up on every stream. That's why I'm mentioning it now. We'll talk about that. We'll put some time aside and see if we can't get some have a look type behavior on that front. Could you fix? Will the fix for the Isle of Wight trophies go on the roadmap for PS4? Don't know. I don't know what the fix for the Isle of Wight trophies is. There we are. Right, there you go. That's gonna wrap it up for today. For those of you who want to see the timetable services, tune in next week. We'll look at those. We'll run through the whole timetable with all 427 plumbed in. We'll also take the BR423 out for a spin, and you never know, it might actually be daylight when we do so. Matt likes the dark lights.
Pretty lights.
It makes him very happy. So there we go. Christian's going, why don't we recreate realistically the entrance halls in major train stations? Because it takes time to do so.
Yeah, they're big and complicated.
And they're complicated. So a semi-realistic stab towards making the entrance halls, because the nature of the game is the journey that you're on. It's less about standing around in an entrance hall. Get that more authenticity is good, but there's always a scaling list of things we'd like to add, and entrance halls don't tend to be high up it. Another question from earlier, thank you, Mike, with regard to manuals. Not immediately is his answer. There won't be a manual straight away, but we've got plans for manuals and guides that are being worked on right now. Mike, we should get that on the roadmap. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Thank you, Matthew.
Is it worth reminding everyone one more time about layers on the what may or may not be on the console versus what they're saying here?
If you missed the start of this stream, back up to around the 10-minute mark, go watch. It's useful information. We'll cover it again next time as well for those who didn't get it this time around. But it's useful information. So if you want to stay fully informed, it's about 10 minutes in or thereabouts. We start talking about layers and what they mean and what the impact is on console versus PC versus whether you've got a load of DLC or only a little bit. Go and have a listen. It's quite interesting, and it's mostly Matt talking.
Sorry about that.
No, that's a good thing. I ramble. You actually deliver worthwhile information. So we're back tomorrow with Matt. You're back tomorrow, aren't you?
I'm back tomorrow with Jasper from Rivet.
With Jasper from Rivet, and they're going to be taking Isle of Wight through its paces.
I am really looking forward to giving that route a run. Pro tip: getting out of the cab. Now I know that's not something you do very often, but I do it all the time. If you're getting out of the cab, look at the floor to get the right. I've already reported this. If you look up, you get the instruction to get into the train. Look down, and you get the instruction to get out of it. Interesting.
Yeah,
I would have made a note.
It's all good. Right, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with some Isle of Wight. Have yourselves a very pleasant rest of your Wednesday.
Good night, everybody.
Cheerio.